welcome back, all my friends and fellow FTFLers. It is I, Brett, owner of the Hulkamaniacs and host, of course, of the FTFL Weekly Update. Welcome to Week 8 in the league, affectionately known as the Frozen Tundra Football League. Before we get into the games, some quick little updates here, or some highlights, if you will. The Marxers' Manamana dominance, 5 games in a row he has won, continues. That train rolls on. On the flip side, there is definitely some losing going on. Linkowitz and Seaberg continue to struggle, 6 and 5 losses in a row, respectively. The waiver wire continues to cause all sorts of headaches. I mean, there was situations from the last couple weeks, and again, this week, Ty Montgomery was going to play, then he wasn't going to play, and sure, I should have planned ahead more better. Absolutely. Adam Swart, you are right, $5 is coming your way. What if this happens to someone on a Monday night, and they don't have the 5th Jacksonville Jaguar receiver? Then they're kind of hosed. We definitely need to address that in the offseason. We've seen a lot of players in certain roster spots, 7 running backs, 7 receivers, 3 quarterbacks, even this year 4 quarterbacks. But I don't believe we've ever seen 4 tight ends. Mr. Sid Hagen, crazy, not sure if it's crazy good or crazy bad. I guess we're going to let this one play out. 5 weeks ago, no single team is automatically in the playoffs yet. No single team is out of the playoffs. That all could change this week. This week, we're going to spend a little bit less time in the games and a lot more time on a new segment called Pretender Contender with 5 to go. I'm going to run through the division standings as they stand today and tell you who I think is a contender and who I think is a pretender as we head down into the playoff stretch. This week's games, let's go. The big one of the week, Kramerica Industries at 5 and 2, taking on lifelong friend Matt, the architect, at 4 and 3, and Kramerica drops his second straight game, 82.5 for the architect to the 73.5 for Sid. 2 in a row now he's lost since he really started flapping his gums. And I said, hey, you might want to stop talking so much out of here and just let things calm down a little bit. But nope. And we're going to see if maybe he can straighten this out or not. The architect seems to be back on track, at least for this week. If you're Hagen, frustrating T.Y. Hilton, half a point. He averages 12. You lost by less than that. Could have been the difference in this game. You fall to 5 and 3. The architect rises to 5 and 3. Ryan Dees from Cities and Balls at 5 and 2, taking on the Pack Attack, who benefited from a terrible, terrible game by Matt last week to get to 3 and 4. This week, though, they fall to 3 and 5 as Ryan wins 113.5 to 86. 38.5 points from the Raider trio for Ryan Deesum. He's all in on the Raiders, and the Raiders are 6 and 2, and oddly enough, so is Titties and Balls. Now, also 6 out of 9 players in double digits that we've seen as a recipe for success. If you're the Pack Attack, a 0 from Mark Ingram was definitely stung. And also, so long Niall Davis. You picked him up. The Packers on Monday dropped him. He was picked up by the Jets later, and then dropped again on Tuesday when the Jets signed C.J. Spiller. Thrown around like some sort of just toy, some weird toy that no one wanted anymore, tossed onto the field, if you will. I don't know if that's how Niall Davis will be treated by the Pack Attack, but for now, he is stuck on a losing team who is 3 and 5. Next up, Bazinga at 3 and 4 versus I'm Hung at 3 and 4. This was the division for second place in the North Division, and let's be honest, the 6th and final playoff spot if the playoffs started today. The win goes to Andy at 103 over Adam at 79.5. Andy survived a 1.5 point performance from Julio Jones, half a point from Greg Olsen, and 2 from the Arizona defense. Then again, Derek Carr played 5 quarters of football this week, and it shows. 500 yards, 4 touchdowns, 38 points. Huge week for Derek Carr and Andy. If you're Adam Swart, you're hurt by Asiata's 5 points, but let's be honest, he's a running back for the Vikings, so what did you think was going to happen? Although 4 running backs on the bench, including Adrian Peterson, which was going to be a 0 regardless, combined for 2.5 points. There isn't a lot of help in the running back department if you are Swart. The best team in the league, Manamana at 6 and 1, taking on the worst team in the league, Linkowitz at 1 and 6. Manamana did not disappoint, 120.5 to Linkowitz 74. Manamana had only 1 player below 9 points, led by Tom Brady's 38 points. Linkowitz took 2 zeros. Jamal Charles, who has now joined the growing list of first-round picks in the FTFL draft that have ended up on IR, and also a 0 from Michael Floyd, and a 1 point by the vaunted Minnesota Vikings defense as that ship continues to take on water. Wow! If I was a fan, which, let's be honest, I'm a respectable individual, so I'm not, but if I was, I'd be heavily concerned. Menomina is 1 win away from guaranteeing himself a playoff spot, whereas Linkowitz is 1 loss away from being eliminated. The last game from this past week, Week 8, Radioactive Monkey surging 4-3, taking on the Hulkamaniacs, who are limping along at 1-6. It was an all-out brawl. It was the closest game of the week, 65.5 to 64. Radioactive gets their 3rd win in a row. The Hulkamaniacs had all sorts of ways they could have won this game. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later. As for that, wraps up the games from this week. Next, we're going to get into who I believe is a contender coming down the stretch and who I believe is a pretender. There's a few that are definitely contenders. There's a lot that's definitely pretending, and one that I think is kind of in the middle. We're going to run through the divisions as they stand today, starting with the almighty North. First place, Jeff, definitely at this moment a contender. Best team in the league. He's the highest scoring team in the league with Tom Brady, Melvin Gordon, Dave Johnson. Those two are the number 1 and number 2 running backs in the league. You throw in Antonio Brown to that mix. He doesn't have much for tight end, but it may not matter the way the rest of the team is playing. He is looking nearly unstoppable at this point. Second place, Andy. Now, I think there are moments where I think this, and there are moments where I think this. We've got a little bit on the fence here with this one. Now, Julio and AJ at the receiver spot, oh my gosh, those guys are amazing. But you add in the running back situation where he can't quite find someone to pair with Le'Veon Bell. Is it Isaiah Crowell? Maybe, but it's definitely struggling. Now, if Derek Carr is going to play the way he played this past week, then maybe this is the moot point and Andy stays firmly on the contender side. But for now, I think it's kind of up in the air. And, of course, he is only in the 6th and final playoff spot if they were today. Next up, Adam Swartz, who lost this week to Andy. Definitely a pretender, and here's why I say that. Only 1 running back over 34 points. That's a 4th of the top 2 scoring running backs in the league. Only 2 wide receivers above 80. There just are not a lot of points being scored by Adam Swartz's team, so he is solidly in the pretender category. Next up, in 4th place of the division at 1-6, only because I hold the head-to-head against John. Let's be honest, I'm not playing all that much better. Now, if this was 2003 when I won the FTFL title, I would definitely be saying contender. But it's not. Fast forward 2016, pretender. There's a bright spot at quarterback. Only 1 wide receiver above 70 points. My defense and tight end all season has struggled. I mean, IR injuries, it's been, let's be honest, nothing short of a train wreck / dumpster fire. Last place, John at 1-7. I said 1-6, 1-7. Definitely a pretender. His defense is the 2nd highest scoring person on his team. That can't happen. Unless your defense has 500 points or whatever it is. That's just not going to get it done. The running back, no one's higher than 60.5. Does, however, have the highest scoring player on the team, Matt Ryan, but really not a lot of help surrounding him. All right, we move on to the South Division. First place, Ryan Deesum at 6-2. Definitely a contender. Great wide receivers. Who knew that not only Amari Cooper would have 90 points, but that Michael Crabtree would also have 90 points at the receiver spot as well. Andrew Luck could have great weeks, could have not so great weeks. Maybe that's where this thing falters in the end. He's going to need help for the running backs. Maybe Latavius Murray coming back gives him that spark that he needs. If you are Matt, who is in 2nd place, I'm calling you a pretender. That's right, you're a pretender, and here's the deal. You have great running backs between Ezekiel Elliott and Devontae Freeman, but only 1 receiver over 60. You're going to need better quarterback play. A lot of inconsistencies there with Jameis Winston and Eli Manning. Now, if only someone would have offered you a trade for a quarterback, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, like 5 different times, but let's just pretend that didn't happen. Then again, can you be counted on to submit a lineup week in and week out? Because of that, you're a pretender, my friend. Next up, Salty, who is surging right now. Now, started off slow, is on a bit of a hot streak, although I still am going to go with a pretender. And that is, you've got inconsistent quarterback play, good running backs if the good Forte shows up. Now, in the weeks where Forte showed up, you played well. In the weeks where good Forte doesn't show up, you have struggled. Only 1 wide receiver over 60 points and no tight end to speak of. 2 streaky, 2 inconsistent, kind of across the board. Therefore, you are a pretender. Now, next, who's on a bit of a downfall in 4th place just because of all the head-to-head stuff, is Sid at 5-3. I'm going to go ahead, though, and say Sid's still a contender. Running backs almost as good as Jeff's. If DeMarco Murray stays healthy, then you're looking at a really, really good situation here. He needs his receivers, Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall, to play like Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall. But if that happens, you throw in Anna Vinatieri, who has almost 100 points as a kicker. Now, he still has to decide which one of his 4 tight ends he wants to play. But if he gets that nailed down, he is the second highest scoring team in the league at the moment. I believe he's a contender. Lastly, pulling up the bottom of the division at 3-5 is Eric, and he is definitely a pretender. I don't know if he misses, Peyton Manning. He does have Drew Brees, and whenever you've got Brees, I'd like to think you're most likely a contender. Now, again, Brees over the last 10 years has been the absolute best player in fantasy football. Boy, I wonder if someone offered a second-round pick for him today, if they'd still get the Decent Award. Probably not. Also, he's got no running backs outside of Lamar Miller, who has only 71.5 points. Only one receiver over 54 points. Just not scoring enough points in the brand new wide open FTFL. There you have it. 3 contenders, 6 pretenders, and 1 kind of on the fence. We're going to get to the last few bits of business here. Stud of the week, Derek Carr. Lord. Derek Carr, 38 points, 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. Moved his team into second place. The last playoff coveted spot at the moment. Definitely trending in the right direction. The dud of the week, T.Y. Hilton, half point. You averaged 12. You cost your team a loss. It is the second loss in a row for America Industries. Not entirely sure they're going to be able to pull out of that one. Who knows? A lot of time left. Decent Award update. Let's just be honest. The toilet bowl could read as follows. Brett, week 8. The Allen Hurns trade, too late to play him when I needed a receiver. The Ty Montgomery debacle as far as he was going to play and then he didn't, and then the waiver wire is locked. Lacey and Vereen sit on the bench in IR. I mean, there's just also week 8 was the week that if I don't make the playoffs, I would. Granted, I'm 1-7, so there were other weeks too, but this one stands out as maybe the worst of the bunch. Next week, as we start down 5 to go, we've got Ryan at 6-2, taking out America at 5-3. Can Sid turn it around and get back maybe into that top spot in the first round bye in the playoffs? It may start with next week's game. Architect at 5-3, taking on the Radio Monkeys at 5-3. Bazinga at 4-4, taking on the Hulkamaniacs at 1-7. The brotherly feud. Hopefully, I get win number 2. Boy, that would be nice. Adam Swartz, I'm hung at 3-5 versus Mana at 7-1. Now, if Markster wins, he's going to the playoffs. If Swart loses, he definitely takes a step back, farther away from that second place, and most likely 6th and final playoff spot. Last game is Team Linkowitz at 1-7, taking on the Pagatag at 3-5. We'll call that the snooze fest of the week. Thanks again for paying attention to the weekly update. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I had a lot of fun, and we'll see you all next week in Week 9 in the FTFL Weekly Update.